Thank you very much, and greetings to members of the media and the people of South Africa. I'll take this opportunity to welcome you to the EFF press conference. My name is Nao Tambo. I'm the EFF's national spokesperson. I'll begin by introducing the leadership which is here with us today. I'll begin on my far left, where there is the Treasurer General, Commissar Mpile Maotwe. Immediately next to her is the national chairperson on her right, Komsano Ndando Nolchungu. On my far right is the Deputy Secretary General of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Komsa Liane Mateis. And immediately next to her, on her left, is the Secretary General of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Komsa Marshall Jamini. On my immediate left is the Deputy President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Komsa Godrich Gadi. And on my immediate right is the Commander-in-Chief and President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, who will be taking us through this press briefing today. Over to you, President.
Thank you very much. Good morning, officials, members of the media, and the people of South Africa and the diaspora. The Economic Freedom Fighters is pleased to have launched a successful mass voter registration campaign at the Winnie Madikizela Mandela House on the 21st of March, 2026. The significance of launching this campaign on Sharpeville Day was a tribute to those whose lives were lost in the 1960s, fighting for our liberation, a liberation which has since been betrayed. Voter registration is therefore a weapon in the hands of this generation to fulfill the dreams of our fallen leaders and vote for free education, quality health care, and 24-hour clinics, affordable electricity, affordable fuel and food, and a society free from crime, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and gender-based violence. To achieve these objectives, we must ensure we are registered to vote, and it is for this reason that the EFF prioritizes engagement with communities and the development of people-centered manifesto over and above the politics of personalities and individualism through mayoral candidates. The EFF says to South Africans ahead of these 2026 local government elections that service delivery and ideas must determine who we vote for, and not personality contests and cheap gimmicks. South Africa does not need pictures of illegal dumping site. We need dumping sites to be cleaned. We do not need potholes to only be exposed, but we need them to also be fixed. We do not need the poverty of our children to be documented. We need our children to be fed. It is for this reason that the EFF's election campaign has played voter registration, building a solid organizational structure, and exposing and fixing community challenges first, and naming of mayoral candidates second. We will not be coerced by popular media and election polls developed by think tanks of right-wingers to change this as our election strategy. On the 27th of March 2026, the EFF held its fifth Central Command Team CCT meeting of the Third National People's Assembly NPA, which resolved to convert all constitutional structures of the EFF into election task force. The purpose of the election task force is to coordinate all election work ahead and during the 2026 local government election. The CCT has accordingly been converted into the election task force, which is convened by the President and Commander-in-Chief and coordinated by the Secretary General. It is constituted by members of the CCT, conveners and coordinators of the provincial election task forces, and conveners and coordinators of the sub-regional election task forces, and any individual who are identified by the Central Election Task Force. The provincial command teams, sub-regional command teams, and branch command teams are also converted into provincial election task force, sub-regional election task force, and branch election task forces, with the additional including of voting districts election task forces, VDETFs, to coordinate elections work. The officials of the EFF are deployed to the following provinces: President and Commander-in-Chief is deployed to convene the province of Limpopo and Gauteng. Deputy President is deployed to convene the province of Mpumalanga and Free State. The Secretary General is deployed to convene the province of KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape. Deputy Secretary General is deployed to convene the Johannesburg Metropolitan Municipality and is additionally the coordinator of the province of Gauteng. The National Chairperson is deployed to convene the Western Cape province. The Treasurer General is deployed to convene the province of Northwest and Northern Cape. Additionally, all CCT members are deployed to convene their home sub-regions as part of ensuring that electoral performance is measured according to one's ability to mobilize their constituencies. All CCT members as conveners of sub-regions are expected to lead the election machinery in their home sub-regions and home wards and deliver victory, and failure to do so will result in reconsideration of their role as CCT members and as public representatives. The CCT also resolved on the establishment of the Central Youth Election Task Force, which will be convened by the President and Commander-in-Chief and the Secretary General. The CYETF will coordinate all election work and mobilize the youth in townships, villages, suburbs, high schools, universities, and TVET colleges to register to vote. It will conduct its own program independent of the CETF and will be the backdrop of the victory of the EFF. The CCT has adopted the Victory or Death Manual, which deals with the prevailing political terrain ahead of elections, analysis of previous elections outcome, and the performance of the EFF compared to the other political parties, defines the purpose and role of all EFF election structures, provide guidelines and criteria for the nomination of ward and mayoral candidate, deals with the do's and don'ts of EFF volunteers, and outlines the election campaign phases of the EFF. The EFF will have 3 election phases, namely Maitlome phase, which will deal with conversion of EFF structures, establishment of elections committees, establishment of operation centers, voter registration, listening sessions, stakeholder submissions, and sectoral meetings towards the creating of People's Manifesto. During this phase, the EFF will also deal with the nomination process of ward and mayoral candidate at branch and ward-based level. The Mamela phase, wherein the organization will intensify the campaign, including launching the 2026 local government election manifesto rallies, intensified door-to-door campaign meetings, and the unveiling of election branding and public publicity, including but not limited to billboards, TV and radio adverts, interviews, and participation in public debates. The final phase will be the Tela-Tupa phase, which is an aggressive final period where we host the Tela-Tupa rally and intensify all work related to door-to-door and community meetings until election day. The core strategy of this election is nothing other than face-to-face interaction with voters, to deliver the message of the EFF and secure support for the agenda of the economic freedom in our lifetime. There will be zero tolerance for laziness, complacency, and failure to do work one is expected to. From today onwards, all of us are volunteers of the EFF, and there is no leader who is going to lead the EFF through a cell phone. Everyone is expected to go to the ground and work with ground forces on a daily basis, receiving reports directly from structures and intervening in all the needs of volunteers, including championing community struggles. Those who are in municipal councils, provincial legislatures, and parliament are expected to elevate the challenge of our people into governance and ensure that they are resolved and attended to. As we have outlined, this year is victory or death for the EFF. Anything other than victory will condemn the masses of our people to further poverty, landlessness, economic exclusion, crime, poor health care, and a lack of access to water, education, and housing. It is do or die, not only for us, but for the people of South Africa. We note the response by the Constitutional Court, Chief Justice Mandi Samaya, to the EFF regarding the delays in delivering judgment in the Palapala case. This response follows sustained pressure from the EFF, which has consistently raised concerns about the unacceptable delay in a manner of profound national importance. The EFF has been clear and consistent. This matter was heard in the Constitutional Court of South Africa in 2024, and by all reasonable standards, judgment should have been delivered within a matter of 3 months by their own standards. Instead, South Africans have been left waiting for 495 days without adequate explanation. This delay has created the impression that justice is being deferred because the matter concerns a sitting head of state. For months, the EFF has engaged in principled and peaceful civil action, including consistent pickets at the Constitutional Court, demanding that the judiciary uphold its responsibility to deliver justice without delay. It is precisely this sustained mass pressure, not quite diplomacy or elite lobby, that has forced a response from the highest office of the judiciary. It is therefore not coincidental that only after direct correspondence from the EFF did the Chief Justice indicate that the judgment may be delivered within a month. This demonstrates that accountability in South Africa is not automatic but must be demanded through struggles. The silence of so-called civil society organizations that claim to stand against corruption has been deafening. Institutions such as Corruption Watch, Helen Suzman Foundation, Nelson Mandela Foundation, Thabo Mbeki Foundation, the South African Council of Churches, Freedom Under Law, OTA, and many more have failed to raise their voices on this matter, which the agency deserves. This inaction exposes a selection approach to accountability where issues are only pursued when politically convenient. The outbreak of foot and mouth disease across South Africa has devastated livestock producers, farm workers, and rural economies, with African farmers hit the highest. Yet the response from the Minister John Steenhuisen has been slow, bureaucratic, and insufficient. Despite government claims of vaccination efforts and new strategies, the disease remains widespread with outbreak in multiple provinces and slow implementation of containment measures. The EFF condemns the failure of DA Minister Steenhuisen and his department to act with the agency required to protect food security, livelihoods, and the backbone of rural economies. The EFF reiterates that all farmers who have lost livestock due to DA incompetence must be compensated and will fight for this to happen. South Africans are confronting historic fuel price increase that are piling pressure on already stressed household budgets. Petrol prices have increased by over 5 rand per litre, with diesel increase even higher at over 10 rand in some regions, while paraffin and energy costs rise at the same time. The highs feed directly into the cost of food, transport, and basic services, deepening the cost of living crisis. The temporary 3 rand fuel levy relief is welcome, but not enough against sustained global price pressure, and will expire sooner unless extended. We are currently challenging the rise of the fuel levies in court, as we have directly seen that the National Treasury is unilaterally making tax increases without consultation with legislative bodies who represent the people. The EFF demands that the government implements long-term relief for all working and poor South Africans, not just temporary measures. We demand that the fuel pricing mechanism are reviewed to protect consumers from exploitative pricing, and we demand that a comprehensive plan is developed to stop inflation pressure and safeguard jobs and livelihoods. The EFF warmly welcomes the appointment of Commissioner Julius Dunga as the new MEC of Finance in the Gauteng province. His appointment signals a commitment to a principled, pro-poor governance and dedication to serving the people rather than serving political elite. During his tenure as MMC of Finance in the Ekurhuleni, Nkululeko Dunga demonstrated decisive leadership and a clear commitment to transformative pro-poor interventions. He led a successful insourcing of security guards and cleaners, ending exploitative outsourcing practices and restoring dignity to workers. He launched the Siyacima Manje Namhlanje campaign, targeting industries and government departments in areas which led to the recovery of 350 million in revenue. Under his guidance, the municipality increased cash on hand from 350 million to approximately 2.1 billion. Dunga led amendments to indigence policy, increasing the property value threshold from 350,000 to 500,000, expanding relief access to approximately 500 households. He was recognized by the South African Local Government Association, SALGA, with 2 awards for reducing unauthorized, irregular, and wasteful expenditure and for implementing robust consequence management during the 2023-2024 financial year. The EFF is therefore confident that Nkululeko Dunga will bring the same visionary and transformative approach to the finances of Gauteng. The attack on his appointment reveals more about the biases of media elites than about the capabilities of the EFF. The EFF additionally celebrates a series of recent victories in municipalities across South Africa that demonstrate verifiable track record of service delivery and transformative governance. In Ekurhuleni, the EFF achieved a major milestone with the insourcing of 199 cleaners and 394 security guards, restoring dignity and job security for workers while taking a stand against corruption and tender abuse. Meanwhile, the former MMC for Water and Sanitation, Commissar Thembi Msani, maintained a stable water supply during the Gauteng water crisis, achieving 98 to 100% compliance with the national water quality standards and earning the city recognition as a water champion. In Johannesburg, the EFF has successfully championed the insourcing of over 7,000 workers, increasing their salaries from 2,500 to above 7,000 per month, with full benefits, providing the pro-poor policies are possible when leadership is committed to the people. The city is also beginning to experience increased metro police visibility under the Operation Nomakanjani Manje Namhlanje campaign, and our MMC of Health has opened the Orchards Clinic, a state-of-the-art facility operating 24/7, showing that accessible healthcare can be delivered around the clock. In Tshwane, the EFF caucus has successfully amended the indigent policy to include all SASSA beneficiaries automatically and approve 100% write-off of municipal debt for qualifying households, offering relief to poor and working-class residents trapped in cycle of debt. Similarly, in Nelson Mandela Bay, electricity was restored in Walma Ward after long outages, and the Ukupumleni Old Age Home, 3.5 million electricity debt was written off through subsidy. Through EFF leadership in eThekwini, residents of Umlazi and KwaMashu have been moved from hostels into proper family housing, restoring the dignity and improving living conditions. Across municipalities, EFF caucuses continue to push progressive initiatives, including land expropriation without compensation in Gauteng, banning labor brokers, and advancing the farmland release program. These victories are tangible, practical, and life-changing, and show that the EFF delivers for the people where others fail. The EFF notes the conclusion of the ad hoc committee established to consider the grave allegation made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, as well as the closure of the political killing team. This was a critical moment in South Africa's ongoing struggle against political violence, criminal infiltration of the state, and the erosion of public trust in law enforcement institutions. The EFF reminds South Africa that it was through our consistent pressure and principled intervention that the ad hoc committee was set up in Parliament. We also actively and decisively engaged in the process to root out the rot in our policing and intelligence systems. The findings emerging from the ad hoc committee and the work of the Mandela Commission confirm what the EFF has long maintained, that there is existing deep-rooted corruption, factionalism, and criminality within the highest ranks of the South African Police Service. The revelations of interference, suppression of interventions, and abuse of state power expose a police system that has, in many instances, been captured by political and criminal interests. We therefore welcome the arrest of the senior police officials implicated through Mandela Commission process. These arrests are a necessary step towards restoring integrity within law enforcement and ensuring that those entrusted with upholding the law are not themselves above it. However, arrests alone are not enough. There must be successful prosecution, dismissals, and a coupled overhaul of the institutional culture that has allowed such rot to persist. At the same time, the EFF condemns the continued wasteful expenditure of public funds through the ongoing remuneration of suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. It is irrational and unjustifiable that South Africans are expected to fund the salary and benefits of a suspended minister implicated in criminal infiltration we speak of, while other individuals is effectively performing the duties of that office. This is a gross abuse of public resources in a country where millions struggle to access basic services. The conclusion of the ad hoc committee and the Mandela Commission must not gather dust like many reports before them. They must serve as a turning point that leads to a decisive action, institutional reform, and the rebuilding of police service that serves the people, not political factions or criminal networks. In Nelson Mandela Bay, the shocking reality that millions of rands have been paid to suspended city manager Notolo Ngwazi over the extended period reflects a municipality that has abandoned its responsibility to the people. She is suspended for crimes of corruption, yet she still has not been put through the necessary disciplinary hearing for years. The consequence of this failure go beyond wasteful expenditure. The invisibility caused by the absence of permanent leadership has resulted in a revolving door of acting officials. Further, training resources while collapsing governance capacity. Even more concerning is the loss of critical funding amounting to 1.6 billion that could have been redirected to infrastructure and service delivery, simply because the municipality has failed to meet basic administrative requirements. This is a betrayal of the people of Nelson Mandela Bay. Equally concerning is the conduct of the Auditor General of South Africa, which has failed to meaningfully engage with legitimate oversight questions regarding the appointment and remuneration of the Secretary of Parliament. The Secretary, Olele George, receives larger salary hikes not in alignment with his position, as well as though recruitment process failed with irregularities. And yet the Speaker of Parliament refused to be held to account, and there has been a cover-up. This pattern of silence and delay compliance raises serious concerns about whether Auditor General is fulfilling its constitutional mandate without fear of favor. When a key oversight institutions appear reluctant to account for its own process, it weakens public confidence and emboldens those who seek to evade security. The EFF further calls for the immediate resignation of Princess Faku, the ANC deployed mayor of Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality, who has serious allegations of fraudulent academic registration at University of Fort Hare. This forms part of a broader pattern in which politically connected individuals manipulated access to education for personal advancement, while deserving young people are excluded due to limited capacity. The University of Fort Hare has been crippled by ANC politicians who register fraudulently while not meeting the minimum requirements in order to meet education criteria to be deployed by their political party. It is unacceptable that public representatives who are entrusted with the responsibility of serving the people are abusing their positions to undermine institutions of higher learning. Such conduct not only erodes the credibility of universities, but also robs young people of opportunity that could change their lives. The EFF insists that all those implicated must step down and face the consequences of their action, and the University of Fort Hare must account for these suspicious degrees indiscriminately awarded to ANC top leaders, a list which includes the likes of Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane. The EFF demands that, just as the Constitutional Court has outlined the period within which the Palapala judgment will be released, the Special Investigating Unit must release its finding on allegations of degree fraud by ANC politicians such as Oscar Mabuyane, Prince Faku, Noxole Kivit, and many others. The EFF wishes to make it clear to South Africa that the court order handed down 2025, which set aside earlier investigation into Mabuyane's degree fraud and others, apply to an outdated SIU proclamation made in 2022. This means that the SIU continue to investigate these ANC officials implicated in degree fraud, and this has been confirmed by SIU. There is no court order which has suspended the SIU investigation, and the EFF demands the report now and the resignation of all those implicated in literally stealing education. The EFF has not forgotten President Nicolas Maduro and the people of Venezuela, who continue to face relentless pressure from U.S. military intervention and economic warfare. The arrest and removal of President Maduro by U.S. forces earlier this year has triggered global outrage and diplomatic splits, with many countries condemning the operation as a violation of Venezuela's sovereignty. We affirm our concern for his welfare and for the democratic rights of Venezuelans. Attempt by the U.S. to pacify or control sovereign states through forces threaten international law, peace, and principle of self-determination. The EFF will continue to oppose imperialist aggression in all its forms. Similarly, despite U.S. sanctions and an oil blockade that have left energy supply low and infrastructure strained, Cuba has shown resilience. Recent shipment of oil and aid from Russia and China have provided temporary relief of the energy crisis in Cuba, which is made worse by the blockade. This is the development the EFF welcomes as a blow against unilateral economic warfare and in defense of Cuban sovereignty. These acts of solidarity from Russia and China counteract decades of punitive measures that have impoverished the Cuban people. In the Middle East, Iran has successfully negotiated a ceasefire with the United States and Israel after they initiated a reckless war. A temporary ceasefire has been reached on the basis of 10-point plan peace plan advanced by Iran and accepted as a framework for negotiations. Iran's willingness to stand firm for its national interest and sovereignty, even under immense pressure, has forced a pause in hostilities and secure a platform for diplomatic engagement. This outcome highlights a shift in global geopolitics. Key U.S. allies in Europe and elsewhere refuse to fully endorse the war and push for diplomacy instead. Their stance, when compared with unilateral U.S. and Israeli escalation, has destroyed the lie of unchallenged American dominance. The EFF continues to assert that the people's struggles are interconnected. Imperialist intervention and unjust economic policies must be opposed consistently. Sovereign nations have the right to self-determination and dignity without foreign military or economic coercion. We call on all people, especially the youth, to go out and register to vote EFF. Visit the EFF website and follow the easy steps to check your voter registration status, relocate or register to vote. The power is in your hands. Register to vote EFF in the 2026 local government elections. I thank you.
Thank you very much, President and Commander-in-Chief. We will now take hands for questions. So we'll do 2 rounds. I'll take the first round of hands. You'll be number 1, you'll be number 2, you'll be number 3, you'll be number 4, and you'll be number 5. Number 1.
This is from Africa. Mr. Malema, I would like to ask you to describe the character of an EFF candidate at a mayoral position, but at a local government as well, at a ward level. I'm asking this because we've seen how MMMCs have been implicated in wrongdoings in Tshwane, but also how municipalities have also been run, considering what is coming out of the Mandela Commission, and also many other incidents that are coming out of these bodies that have been established to look at corruption and investigate these things. So give us an idea of how an EFF mayoral candidate or mayor would deal with these issues, but also the steps that the party would take in terms of addressing those issues. Thank you.
Number 2.
Good afternoon, CIC, and to the rest of the leadership. Breiten here from Netwerk 24. My first question is around this move in Gauteng joining the provincial government. Should we expect that negotiations will now start at a national level and maybe you joining the GNU? What's the possibilities of that? And then how progressive will the new MEC of Finance be within his budget? Because as I understood, the Premier will keep quite a watchful eye, if you can call it that, over budget allocation. So how progressive will he really be able to be? And then there's another matter that's also been in the public, and it's between this fight between you and the Deputy President of the Patriotic Alliance, Kenny Kunene. He said you call people small boys all the time. Now you dragging him to court because he's doing the same. Maybe just some clarity on what is that about, that very public spat between the two of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Number 3.
Samkela Masego from the SABC. To the leadership of the EFF, just in essence, what will be the criteria that will be followed ultimately in choosing who becomes the mayoral candidate of the EFF in the various metros? What will be the main thrust of those candidates at a later stage that you will then choose and field 2 South Africans to choose from the pool from? On the matters regarding coalitions, in Ekurhuleni, you were seemingly unhappy with Kosindipile Kagaza. What is your current relationship with the majority party within that particular council? I know Leanne Matthys used to be a deployee for the EFF in that particular municipality. What's your relationship within that council at this stage? On your relationship with Action SA, is it having an influence on how Action SA ultimately voted in the Ekurhuleni Metro, noting that you are working with them in the Tshwane local municipality? Thank you.
Number 4.
Good morning, President. My name is Lunga. I'm from the Mail and Guardian. President, the last time you dented my ego, man. Please try to tone it down this time. President, the first one is to, when it comes to East London, I know you're going to court on Wednesday. What do you think the predictions are on that matter? And going back to Brayton's question, do you deny that you went to Mswazi's house at 1 o'clock carrying, because there's allegations that you were carrying money, and from what I've seen is that you are saying those allegations are just frivolous, where there's just a concocted things about you. So do you deny that you went there carrying money and bottles of whiskeys that night and all that on the allegation that he has raised? And thirdly, obviously we've seen Mandela Dunga coming as an MEC here in Gauteng. Would we be looking for such a similar arrangement, maybe somewhere in KwaZulu-Natal, to say maybe you might be looking to offer, because the way it stands now, MK Party doesn't look like will ever be in charge of that province. And then lastly, if you are called to come and testify at the Mandela Commission, if your name is indeed mentioned, would you be willing to say, look, you are going to come and testify at the commission? Thank you very much.
Number 5.
Good afternoon, Shannon Merrick's CBC Africa, a member in good standing of the Press Council of South Africa. Number 1, the elephant in the room, the appointment of Dunga. A lot of people have expressed that they are not happy on social media. The ANC Youth League, the ANC Veterans League, the media, and so on and so on. Now, in terms of the best practice in South Africa, I'm going to give two examples. President Ramaphosa appointed a minister with a record of a convicted bank robber as a minister to be in charge of sports, arts, and culture. The president then came to Johannesburg and then forced the ANC to appoint a Kenny Kunene within 24 hours back as the MMC as well. So if you can look at that examples, Dunga don't fit that criteria. He is not a convicted criminal. He has not spent time in jail. So why would you appoint a person that don't meet the best practice of what we expect of Africa and what we expect of people in South Africa to be criminals, to be stealing finance? As I know, Dunga don't even have a criminal case against him. I'll come back for the Madanga Commission. Thank you.
President.
Thank you very much. As a point of start, I think we should put it on record that we have a big problem with newsroom. We have a big problem with newsroom. And if they want us, they will find us. It is a nonsensical thing they are doing of running stories about EFF without giving EFF a right of reply. It's an absolute rubbish, which we're not going to accept. They talk rubbish half the time. They don't call the EFF to come and reply. And you think we'll not challenge you. We're going to challenge you on that. Because we're not kids that you're just going to insult on your studios and then when we see you, we must be all nice. The newsroom has got an agenda against the EFF and will go after it. It will not be for the first time that we take a TV station head on. And coincidentally, the people who made us to make ENCA run are now in newsroom. Which means the problem is not necessarily the station, it's individuals. There are certain individuals who will list their names. If they don't change their attitude, we'll read out their names in one of these press conferences. The same way they read our names and talk about us and don't call us. It's wrong. To a point where a party has to write a letter and say, guys, what is this now? This is unethical. It's unacceptable. The issue of the mayor and the what candidate, I think they are all the same question. So the criteria we're going to follow is that people are going to be elected as what candidates and would choose from amongst what candidate who's going to be a mayor. So you can't be a mayor if you are not a what candidate or if you are not a what candidate. So the council is constituted by what candidate and PR. We're not going to have a PR list. We're going to have one person on the PR. We call him a placeholder. Then when the results are out, we know how many wards we have won and then how many PR seats we have won. Then the placeholder will resign. When a placeholder resigns, the IEC says, guys, you've got so many seats, you've got so many days to fill in those vacancies. We go and take candidates who have failed to win a ward. And the ones with the highest votes will be the ones who will be taken to become PR. Because people have been becoming PR through factionalism. They are not even known in their wards. Yet people who worked very hard in their wards, they almost won. They lost with 2 votes. They don't get into the municipality. But a factionalist of note gets into a municipality without even moving their finger. So we are curbing favoritism and factionalism. And we want a reward that will be given to hardworking fighters. If you want to be a mayor in the EFF, go and become a ward councillor. Because a mayor is going to come from amongst the ward candidates. Whether you won a ward or not, if your ward is up there with those that have lost and you get into a PR, then we'll appoint you a mayor. So if you are not going to be a ward councillor and then you become a ward councillor and your ward, and then we appoint you a ward candidate and your ward still gets low marks, it's not in the 5 of the wards that we're going to take the PRs from, then you are automatically out. The fact that you're a mayor means nothing. You have to show strength that you are a community builder, you are a community activist, you resonate with the people where you come from, you have been working with communities, and you are disciplined. And that process starting on the 1st of May. So anyone who joins the EFF after the 1st of May will not qualify to be a candidate of the EFF. It will be clear you are joining to become a candidate. So after the 1st of May is closed, the candidate thing is closed. After voting for a councillor successfully, a councillor will be taken to community meeting and he will be introduced to community members, and a session will be opened where community members will make comments about that candidate of the EFF. If there are strong views that are legitimate, which have been raised by community members, upon finalizing the candidature of that particular candidate, those views are going to be taken into consideration. And you are most likely to be taken back to choose a different candidate because the community is not happy with the one that you have chosen. So in a way, we also give the community, without taking the organizational responsibility away from the organization, we're giving the community an opportunity to have a say. Last one, and I don't know if I heard properly. SG, he said EFF, MMC are implicated. Did you say that?
That's what we've been seeing. So how would an EFF?
Where?
In Tshwane.
Where? Who?
No, I was not saying EFF. I'm saying we've seen MMMCs in other municipalities being implicated, such as in Tshwane. So how would an EFF mayor or MMC be dealt with by the party if she or he is found to be implicated in such acts?
No, we'll deal with it. In the EFF, there is a code for revolutionary conduct where members deployed in government and ordinary members are subjected to that code of conduct. There's a code of conduct for public representatives as well. So they will be dealt with accordingly. But so far, there's no any MMC of the EFF who's implicated in anything. And there's no one in the Mandela Commission who implicated the EFF or the EFF leadership. Because the thing of listening is very important. If you listen with excitement, you might miss a small detail. So let's take that clown called 007. What they call him? Nkosi. Nkosi says he received a list of companies from a deputy chief of police. And the deputy chief of police was asking Nkosi whether the list comes from the Red Beret. They never said Nkosi and the chief of police in the commission. They never said we got a list from the EFF. They say someone brought the list and said it's from the Red Beret. They never said the Red Beret send us their list. There's a difference there. Someone sent us the list and said it's from the Red Beret. Can you please check with the CFO? And said is from the Red Beret. Can you please check with the CFO to check with the CIC? They never said the CFO checked with the CIC. They're saying the two crooks are talking on how they are going to steal. Then they put the EFF name and CIC and all of that. Then that's the end of the story. They just leave it hanging. They don't come back to us in that commission whether the CFO confirmed that that was the list of the Red Beret, and that whether the CFO confirmed the list with the CIC or anything of that sort. If you call that implicated, then we have to go back to grade 1. We'll be patient with you. You'll find us here. There's nothing implicating there. People are robbing each other, throwing EFF's name inside. There's no one of the EFF who's a player in the whole nonsense. So the EFF or its CIC is not implicated in Mandlanga. No one brought any list to me to verify, because I would have asked, where did you get the list from? So no one came with any list to me to come and say, is it true this is an EFF list? They were asking, someone said it's an EFF list. They ask amongst themselves, and as to whether someone confirmed or did not confirm their story, they just leave it hanging there and then go to the next subject, because that's how they want to deal with the EFF. Don't say anything. I mean, there's nothing against them, but just in passing, you could see how that white leader of evidence was so excited when the EFF was mentioned. Every time the EFF gets mentioned, he thinks he's got something, and there's nothing he's going to get from anyone against the EFF. His agenda won't survive if he's got one against the EFF. They say some general, I'm forgetting the story, it's a bit old. Some general went to talk to witness what and said, Sibiya, you know Sibiya. Sibiya is a friend of Zeh. Zeh is a friend of Malema. Malema knows Sibiya. How do I not know Sibiya? And since when knowing Sibiya is a crime? They don't say I did any crime with Sibiya. I know Sibiya, he was working here in Johannesburg, where we were co-governing, where we helped Hammond to become a mayor. We're here. So why would I know? Why would I not know Sibiya? So I've not done any business with Sibiya. And when Sibiya went to the police, I called him. I said, there's 2 cases of Abidi Khali. They kidnapped the wife and the child, and it's been dragging, and the family is concerned. No one is doing anything. I then made Sibiya to be in contact with the family of the Khali, and then I left it there because I was not personally interested in the matter. But a member of public brought the matter to my attention. As a public rep, I've got a duty to attend to it. And I did it, and I'll do it again. If someone says police are not acting on 1, 2, 3, I'll call the relevant people in the police and say, there is this thing. Including Castle. I will call him, including the minister. I used to call Begikele about issues that get to be reported in my constituency about police not being helpful about this or that. It is my duty. If it's health matters and nurses are not performing or the hospital is dysfunctional, the doctors are not treating patients well, I used to call Dr. Mtswaledi and tell him about the concerns that I received as a public rep, and I know him as a minister, so I will send them to those particular individuals. So it is my duty to do that. So, and then they say, by that, they want to draw a web, try to link me into those things. No, how do you link me? I don't know how police pull rank amongst themselves and say, yeah, I know so and so, I know so and so, I can do 1, 2, 3. I've never done anything with Sibiya. The second one was the Jeribu Shuha case, which I'm still going to call them, because even after we called them, even after we asked about it in the commission, still no movement. So why must I keep quiet and not call the relevant authorities and ask, how far are you with this case? I'm duty bound. That's why I do oversight, is to go and see if a police station is functional, a hospital is functional, or any of those things are functional. So that's my duty as a member of parliament. People send me to parliament to be their voice where their voice can reach. And I'm that voice. I don't engage in criminal activities. I'm not a criminal. So I will never, that's why I speak freely. None of your politicians can speak the way I speak because they are told they've got small skeletons. I don't have that nonsense. So I know Zé Nxumalo is a child of Professor Nxumalo, who was the founder of the IFP. He was, if I'm not wrong, the first Secretary General of IFP. Then you say Julius Malema, in giving Z's description, you have to drag my name in. But his father is a retired politician, a noticeable person. Why are you not saying a child of Professor Nxumalo? You bring my name. Or is it because you can't research such a simple information like desktop? For sure you are shocked wherever you are, all of you. Oh, is that so? Yo. It's not a big issue. How can someone being someone else be a big issue? That's the father. Zé is my friend. Zé Nxumalo is my friend. And anyone who stays in the north knows Zé Nxumalo, who grew up in the north, socialized in the north, northern suburbs, Sandton. You will know Zé was a big socialite there. But you know what is amazing, something about Zé, is that Zé was best friend with the daughter of Rupert. You don't mention that. It's not like you don't know it. You don't mention that. You mention me because you are looking for me. You don't mention that at Zé's wedding, the groom's party was white people only. Because being Zé's friend is a crime. Mention his friends. All a groom's party. Abum Kapi. They were all white. A person who spoke at the Zé's wedding was a white person. Zé has got a lot of white friends. You don't mention them because they are white. That's Zé's life. No, Malema, what? Because he knows Malema. Let's make it look like it's a crime. Zé was not a visitor at Rupert's house. Was a child of that house. The way they were so close, he used to tell me stories that he will be sitting on the couch and then the lady will be lying down, the head will be on the thighs of Zé, in front of the head will be on the thighs of Zé, in front of their father, Rupert. Zé has been to Rupert's farms, wine tasting farms, many times where some of you as journalists were. But you don't mention Zé and mention Rupert at the same time. Now, this Musibi you're talking about, that, and you even asked me the question, have you been to the farm? When you've got an answer. Kenny can say whatever nonsense he wants to say. He must repeat that in court. Don't ask me that question as Kenny's question. We'll ventilate his nonsense in court. Because he doesn't have an answer. He says, I'm suing him for calling me a boy. It's not true. I'm suing him for saying I'm at the center of the cartel. But when the brain has moved from the head into a stomach and increased your stomach, then we've got those such problems. You can't think. You can't read. It's not only kids now. It looks like we do politics with adults who can't read for a meaning. He must go and read the papers again. He's being sued for saying, I am at the center of the cartel. Meaning, by implications, he says, that big five drug cartel you are looking for, I am one of them. He says that. Now he realized He has spoken nonsense. He leaves that. He says, no, he's suing me because he says I called him a boy. And because he knows you don't read, you're going to repeat after him. Read, just read papers. The papers of the court are not difficult. What is difficult is when they start arguing about a case law. But the papers is a storytelling. This one said this one said that was a storytelling. How can storytelling be difficult? You don't get involved. If you are that lazy, don't go to legal arguments, leave them. And just read the storytelling. Or and like le pantiti le ba le suela eng. Then you will understand, man, when you are excited like a child in a podcast, and you said Malema was at the center of the cartel. So we want you to tell us how does Malema become part of the drug cartel? In supporting his evidence, it says, I took 80,000 to the farm and then a bottle of whiskey to pay a protection fee to the cartel. How do I pay a protection fee to myself? He said, I'm the cartel. I'm at the center of it. I take money to pay myself and then ask myself that, please protect me. No one must attack me. I seek no protection from anyone. No one. And then I'm suing him again for saying I stayed at Mazoti's back room. I never stayed at Mazoti's back room. Even my wife never stayed at Mazoti's back room. That thing, it's a, what do you call it? 4-cluster house. My wife's rented house was in front of Mazoti's house. So before you go to Mazoti's house, you pass my wife's house, if that's what he meant. If that's what he meant. So, but he can't see what's happening in that thing. He can't imagine a white man staying behind a back room of a black person. If by Kenny's description, that's a back room, it means it was Mazoti staying at Mantra's back room. Because the house of Mazoti is at the back. Mantra's one is in front. He doesn't bring any evidence. He brings some aerial photograph. He can't tell which one of those houses is Mantra's house. I never stayed in Hyde Park. I stayed in Cape Town. I've got a house in Cape Town. My wife stayed there. I work in Cape Town. I don't work here. I work in Cape Town. I get paid in Cape Town. That's where my job is. But when I'm here, where I sleep is none of your business. The guy Samali choose about to marobala. Or a robala guy. The utra or a bonoro robeji guy. I could do it Melanin. So there are so many issues that I'm dealing with there. But I've been to the farm of Msibi because when General Cele spoke about it in Parliament, he said, even Malema spoke at his funeral. I said, yes. In the ad hoc committee, I said, yes. His funeral was at his farm. So why should it be a story now that someone tells you a story for the second time that I was at the farm? You was at the farm. Peggy Cele said it in the ad hoc committee. I said, yes. 3 of us spoke there. I spoke, Mbalula spoke, Peggy Cele spoke. How did I know the old man? I knew the old man through there when they were engaged in a strike here in Johannesburg. I can't remember if it was which year. At the center of the protest of the taxis at the time was Taxi SA is refusing to give them shareholders, yet they're the biggest customers of Taxi SA. The Taxi SA is nothing without them. And I happened to know Zeh, who was involved in those negotiations. And then Zeh held a party at this place. I went, I can't remember where I was from. And I didn't know this man, but I was like, there's just something about this guy. They said, no, This is Musibi, the boss of taxis. So it made sense to have taxi people there at Z's party because Ze works with the taxi SAs, the one who do deals for them and all of that. Ze helped only to find that Ze helped them to break a deal. And then they got 25% of the shares in the taxi SA. So this Musibi we are speaking about is a shareholder of a registered listed company called the Taxi SA. Who financed Musibi's deals? Was it Malema? No. What is this company called? What growth? It financed that part of the deal. Standard Bank put money in the deal. All different types of banks put money from CB to buy those shares in the Taxi SA. You're saying I gave him 80,000 and then you want to make it a story. How much did the bank give him for him to get a stake of 25% in a listed company at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange? Go and find out as to how much banks gave him CB and stop talking nonsense of a person who's hallucinating. Were you with me when you say they called me at 12? Because it can only be that you were with me or you were with Musibi when you called me at 12. And then, were you there when I came with a bottle or anything? I never went to Musibi with a bottle. I never went to Musibi with money. I went to Musibi half the time to talk to him about taxis reducing their price because he had an influence both in taxis and the buses. He's a founder of Santaco. They deal with my constituency every day. Millions, they transport them every day. So I knew him, and then he said his business is taxis, and from time to time we'll negotiate with him at the farm, here in Sandton at Z's office, sometimes at that Saxon Hotel, and so on and so forth. Anyway, when I call, I'll find him and he's ready to meet me. I'll go and meet him and present my story. They even made me meet Patco people. That's how much he had influence in Patco and how he has worked with them before, he knows them. And they will be saying they have buses. Sometimes they will want to drop us last minute. We'll ask him to intervene for us to get buses. So it's not the other way around. If anything, I'm the one who was negotiating discounts for activities and EFF activities. I went, spoke to them, and we never spoke any crime, me and them. Actually, the stories I'm hearing are horrifying stories that I've not experienced anything that suggests anything of that sort with those guys. Now, Musibi liked my brain and used to engage with me because the people around him, they were very scared of him. So someone told me that when you go there, you must just leave him to talk. Because if you speak, when he's speaking, he becomes aggressive. So he spoke, and then I tried to come in, and then I saw that thing those people were speaking about. But the mistake he did was to put a bottle that was containing a very noisy water. And he kept on encouraging me to drink that water. After 2-3 glasses, I tried speaking. And then he said, no, I'm going to finish. I mean, this is like now, more than an hour. I said, look, no one told me I'm coming here to be addressed by you. No one. They said we're coming to have a meeting. And then the next thing, I can't speak, I'm going to speak. Otherwise, this meeting must finish. Then he stopped and looked at me when I was speaking. Then he said, hey, I see that thing of parliament in real life here. Get exactly that. We can't do that. Then from there, I became used to him. This is what I said at his funeral. If there's a video, they can play it for you. And that's how we debated. It was not just a taxi man. A man will read, a man will argue, a man will analyze society and try to give ideas on where he thinks. And one of the things he did was he had too much time on his plate. So you could just call for you for an hour and then you end up spending a day together because we're engaging at that time and no one is retreating. He knows Chairman Mao from A to Z, and he knows him without reading anything. He was fascinated by Chinese politics. So that's what made me to engage him, as it were. But unlike the people I've known, he has never spoken tenders. He has never spoken business with me. If there is business, it will be me talking about the buses, the taxis, and then you will assign someone, talk to this guy in this area, I'll collect all of those people and give them to DSG. How they finish it is none of my business, but I'm certain that transport is well secured. And till this day, I'm not convinced he was involved in tenders because the tender dudes, you can't speak with them for more than 30 minutes and they don't speak tenders. He was not the kind to speak to you about tenders, unless he had his own people they speak tenders about. So that's far we can take it. If this story is juicy to an extent that Madlanga wants that juice, I'm well prepared to go. Why would I be scared to go to Madlanga? I'm not scared of anything. So why would I be? Why would the question even be, will you go to Madlanga if they call me? They call me for what? For discussing politics with Msibi. I mean, all of those supplementary affidavits, it's a nonsense. It's rubbish. It's not even worth the paper written on. Because the confirmatory affidavit means you must confirm that this happened. No, the fools being fools say in the papers, the ones that are confirming, the main applicant said, yeah, they called me and said, what we were saying in the podcast, it is true, it's true. Meaning, you said it without being told by these ones. And therefore, these ones can't be the ones that informed you about it because they came after. How can they be witness of something that happened after? Someone told you about this before. Who's that person? Who's that? These ones just heard you and the fanatics and they say, it's true, it's true. But that's after. That's after. You must look at my affidavit and there's a supplementary, confirmatory affidavit. We speak about something we were together. We don't say we heard, we saw, we were there. No, the papers are there. Get them where you got them. They are there. Ikuruleni was still fighting with the ANC about Ikuruleni. And we hope to find a solution very soon because that budget was passed illegal. And if they are not going to move, we're going to take them to court for that budget to be declared invalid. So that can be avoided by political engagements. So they must give us to what belongs to us. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. They took our speaker. They took our MMCs. We want them back. You give us, let's go. Let's work. It's as simple as that. The hatred was Dunga. Dunga is no more. Why did we hate Dunga so much? Because Dunga was smarter than you in all respect. He couldn't match Dunga. No, that mayor, he couldn't stand Dunga because he couldn't match Dunga. Or brains, thinking capacity, charisma, handsomeness, everything. The Dunga is more presentable than him. Dunga has got no puza face and things like that. So, unotfaya to run up puza face. Till today, he hasn't told us why he hates Dunga this much. So we have to fundraise the reasons and find out. Or maybe because he's got puza face and Dunga doesn't have. Therefore, that's the fight. Because he said the fight was personal. He said it's very personal. He couldn't give us any reason. So we are not, if we're given any reason, we'll leave. Fighters, Dunga never stole a cent in Ikurulin. He found it at 350 on hand and left it at 1.5, if I'm not wrong, 2.1 billion on hand. So how do you say such a person doesn't have capacity? How do you say that such a person doesn't have capacity? Who said all MECs of education are teachers? Who said that? Or education experts or anything of that? Who said the MEC of environmental affairs stayed in the bushes and did the environmental affairs studies and you understand environment more than anyone? Who said that? Those are political positions. The government is run by those who are qualified. That's why we always surrender ourselves with the best. That's why you saw his first picture to the office. He was accompanied by a doctor. That guy didn't do his PhD with burning of tires in the township. And that was not his PhD. Researching why people were burning tires in the township. His dissertation was on treasury. That guy that is with Dunga, Dr. Guman. Now, Mbalula once tried to ridicule us. Not to go to school is a problem. Where he says, they brought an expert. They brought an expert. And we didn't have an expert. And he's proud that he didn't have an expert on a matter that needs experts. That's how much education is valued at that side. You are being ridiculed and being made a joke for having an expert. And that's the future. That's the future of South Africa. The president who has no understanding of the role of experts in society. Experts. We demonstrated to them that you might know us like this, but under us, real thinkers are there to sharpen this tool called the EFF. They didn't have expert, he's right. He had wafflers, waffling. All of them eating from the palm of our research. That's how much we feed these ANC's illiterates. We feed them. In the finance committee, there is worse. It was this expert who made the ANC through our public reps to know that there is a law called money bill. Juma Sanganya, what is that? No. Let's adjourn the meeting. And then he adjourned the meeting and he ran because he was still getting a crash course on money bill. First time they heard it from the EFF. Illicit financial flows and how they work. Some ANC people even asked for us to come and workshop them on what we're talking about because they've never had such a thing in their lifetime. That's because we hire the best. We hire the best. And we're focused. So they can complain about Dunga. Dunga is not an ex-convict. They're working with ex-convict. Where is that old man who was fired at the SABC who calls himself a veteran of the ANC? Yes, Snooki. Why is he not giving us an expert opinion on prisoners that are working with Cyril in the cabinet and in the municipality? In the municipality, there is a video of MMC of transport where he was calling private parts of women in a video. After he dropped that thing, he was rewarded with an MMC position. That's the kind of leadership you have. And you want to compare that to Dunga? Shame on you. Shame on Snooki. Maybe that video is exciting him, old as he is, where the MMC of transport was calling private parts of women integrity committee. What is integrity about calling private parts of women? Go and look before you pass judgment on Dunga. Look at the kind of people they work with. That minister of correctional service, an apartheid apologist, a man who possibly could have even killed black people, that man. A racist of note. Those are the kind of, you accept that man. You accept that man who probably was participant at Flag Plus. You accept to work with him. But you refuse a young, genius African person. And you want to call yourself a revolutionary. Oh, shame on you. That's why we're not shaking. If Sanko wants Dunga out, let Sanko can go in and let it give the ANC the vote it wants after going in. What is Sanko going to give the ANC? What will they give them? What will the Veterans League give the ANC? What will the Veteran Youth League give the ANC? The ANC is looking for something, yeah, and we're the only ones who have it. We have it. And because we are respectful to South African people, we don't bring you drunkards who hide behind the name veterans, but hopeless drunkards. We bring you the best, not from prison, not a man who's proud of having killed people in the ICT when he was committing the ICT crimes. No. The man is still very young. The man is intelligent. Listen to him when he speaks. He brings in a fresh air. Not an air yang din tacha tronko. Ndinta. Apo le panti te ru lebella do bana dinta o wena na le dinta. That's not what we're bringing you. We're not bringing you a bad smelling air from prison. We're bringing you the best of the best, fresh air. We're bringing you fresh air, not recycled thugs. That will be eating sushi inside the parliament corridors. No, we're going to East London, 15, 16. That's a sentencing. We've already said we will appeal the judgment. The state has already put in the heads of argument they are calling for direct imprisonment of 15 years. Yeah, so you can see that someone is doing everything in its power to get me into jail. So I have no problem with that. It's legal battles that will fight. Here in South Africa, you don't use the courts to fight political battles. So we are going there ready and knowing what the other side wants us. They are coming for a kill, but we'll meet at the court floor. We're not in an alliance with Action SA because we voted for them in Tshwane. We speak to them from issue to issue. You know, we are the only ones in South Africa. Panyaza comes after us, by the way. We are the only ones who can run successfully a coalition government because we don't suffer from any egoistic politics. We negotiate all the time. We don't throw weights around. Coalition means permanent negotiations. It's permanent. At 12 o'clock, you can be called that we just finished our meeting. Can we please urgently talk to you? Midnight, tomorrow the council is sitting. You can't say, no, guys, can't we do it in the morning? I'm sleeping. No, you have to wake up. You don't have numbers. You have to wake up because you might be shocked when you wake up in the morning. So coalitions means permanent engagements, and that's what the EFF does with the Action SA from issue to issue. We talk to them. We don't agree ideologically on many issues, but when it comes to service delivery and running clean cities and making sure that our people receive service delivery, they will tell you we're the best. You know, you all run around here and say, these people are corrupt and all of that. You can ask all of these mayors, all of them. I never asked to meet a mayor. Never met any mayor. I never met any city manager, asked for this or that favor or anything. That's not my space. I don't engage in those politics. I mean, as you're speaking now that, oh, you and Action SA in Ikuruleni, you're voting together because you voted for them in Tshwane. I have to pause a bit and think, who's the mayor in Tshwane, by the way? Because I've got no obsession with those things. Once they were agreed, they get assigned to relevant people, I move to the next assignment. That's my job. So you can go to where you can go to anyone who knows her. She will tell you, I've never met her. So I don't seek any favor. I vote on the basis of what is to be achieved in the immediate for people while we are fighting for the strategic objective of the EFF. We will be MECs in KZN under MK government. Ungajahi, yabulala impi, ungajahi, hamba kancane. Siyasebenza la, KZN sibhizi kakhulu asilala. So, you know, politics, 2 hours is a lot of time. 2 hours. So we're working. We're not going to be anything in GNU that involves DA and Freedom Front. You can be rest assured. That's why our appetite when Panyaza called has always been there. We said, no, we're fine. The struggle is the struggle to capture the state and use the state to deliver a political agenda as a political party. And then if the environment is such that it allows us to participate, then we'll do so. But we cannot do so with DA. DA told you it's in government to stop EFF. That's how much they're scared of us. Because they know what we'll do, what we'll say we'll do. And that thing that we'll do is bettering the lives of our people. I think I dealt with everything. But you must know that the age is catching up these days, so I don't see proper. But I refuse and completely to be like some girl and wear glasses. In my heart, I'm still very young. I can see everything. but in reality, it's a problem. Thanks.
Thank you, President. We'll take the second and last round. You'll be number 1. You'll be number 2. You'll be number 3. There's no one who's going to go a second time. You'll be number 4. You'll be number 5. You already went, my brother. You'll be number 6. Thank you very much, number 1.
Good afternoon, Mr. Malema. It's Alpha Ramushwana here from Eyewitness News and 702. I just want to understand the logic behind not relying on mayoral candidates, especially in a city like Johannesburg, where we have a very active Helen Zille on the ground and Action SA leaning on Herman Mashaba, the city of Johannesburg. Don't you think it would also be nice to lead your campaign, especially in metropolitan municipalities? Thanks.
Number 2.
Now, the problem is that you guys, when it favors you, you want us to go with individuals. The individual this and the individual that. But when it doesn't favor you, there's no EFF without Malema. Now we are saying put Malema. Because if there's no Malema, there's no EFF. No. We are putting the organization. People are going to vote for the EFF. And our strategy is not a strategy of a DA and then a DA breakaway. Mashaba is a DA breakaway. And then the DA and us don't strategize the same. We're not together. We'll never be the same. We refuse. We're not going to put any mayoral candidate pushed by the neoliberal media or DA or any other political party. We do things according to how we see them fit. We put first a manifesto, and then we'll put a consolidated list of candidates, ward candidates. From that list, we'll choose those that we think are in a better place to be mayoral candidates. That's how it's going to work. So any other question outside that doesn't belong to us. Go and ask them. We don't work with individuals. We work with the organization. What comes first is the organization and its ideas. And once we have ideas of the organization, we look from amongst ourselves who is better suited to can pursue these ideas we sold to the people of South Africa. Yes, sir.
Thank you, number 2.
Oh, thank you, Silver Sibia from UFM. To the EFF, do you still have confidence on the judiciary, considering how they dealt with the Palapala matter, on how the parliament handled it? And secondly, what is your message to supporters if the sentencing next week in East London, it happens to be what they may seem unfair to you? As we have seen in the past, things can easily go out of hand, as we have seen in the July riots. Thank you.
Well, we don't have any message to our supporters. Our supporters are guided by the leadership and it's the discipline of the organization. So we don't expect anything unusual. We are going to court and that's how we'll deal with it. What was the first one? No, we can't use one case to throw the baby with the water away. It's a one case. And we're dealing with it. We're not folding our arms. No one is going to destroy our constitution and destroy the judiciary in our presence. We will do everything in our power to defend it. They said the case will be out in a month's time. As long as the case is not out, every month the EFF is going to march at the Constitutional Court. We're not stopping. If that letter thought it will make us go easy on the matter, we're not going easy on the matter. And they must know we're highly disappointed in them. We're highly disappointed in them. They've destroyed the legacy of Mokwe, of turning things around within a short space of time, where we put an emphasis that once a matter is finalized, it should be within 3 months that people should receive matters. That's why you can be granted a direct access to the Constitutional Court without a serious struggle. Why? You are dealing with a serious man. Once they say you've got access, automatically it's agent that matter. So what happened? We are highly disappointed. But we are highly disappointed in you also, because none of you goes to ask those NGOs, why are you so quiet when a matter like this is taking forever? We should take those NGOs serious tomorrow when they speak. When they say to Malema must step down, Malema must step down, you must listen to such people who are selective in their approach. When the facts are out there, people use their majority to vote against what was rationally making sense. Are we saying rationality can be replaced by majority? That court needs to answer that, because no one has provided any reasonable assertion which made Parliament to arrive at the decision they arrived at. They just used majority to undermine rationality, and we're not going to sit back and allow that. So let the court come out. Let's hear what the court says, that if you have a majority, you can always find your way. You can always use the majority to take unconstitutional decision, because that's what happened there. Thanks.
Number 3.
Hi everyone, and to our leadership. My first question is, you have previously...
Name, media house.
Oh, sorry, my name is Mandela from Inside Politics. Yes. So you have previously labeled the conviction racist and politically motivated. If the court delivers a custodial sentence next week, will the EFF continue its campaign of public picket, or will the party strictly limit its response to the formal appeal process we have already vowed to pursue? My second question, which municipalities do you think will do well and why? And also, lastly, how are the preparations for the upcoming joint conference of the left organized by the party and the SACP? Is the party planning to work together with the SACP during the local government elections, and whether you will form coalitions with the SACP? Thank you.
What was the first one?
If the court delivers a custodial sentence next week, will the EFF continue its campaign, its public picket, or you will strictly limit the response?
We're doing exactly what we're doing now. There is no anything negative, but the courts or the constitution doesn't disallow people from protesting. So we're peacefully protesting at the court. We'll do both. Yes. The second one? In all of them. The third one?
How are the preparations for the upcoming joint conference with the SACP?
Oh, SG.
No, thanks. We are still at the formative stage. We are still in consultation with our first meeting with the SACP. So it's still in process. Once we've done consultation, then we'll communicate when is it conference of the left. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 4.
Good afternoon, CIC and the leadership of the EFF. If you allow me, CIC, I want to
Name,
get
surname, media house.
from the Gauteng Times. I want to get back to the appointment of MEC Dunga. You've mentioned that he's championed pro-poor interventions and restored dignity to the people, something that you encapsulated as a visionary and transformative approach. So now I want to know, now that the scope is bigger, which areas do we expect him to champion this time, especially when you mentioned jobs, that jobs were created in Ekurhuleni? Should more particularly young people hold their breath and say, wow, jobs are coming? And secondly, I want to ask, if I captured you correctly, you mentioned or you remarked that right-wing parties are using political surveys as instruments. And we've seen that the DA actually relies heavily on these polls and they actually keep on publishing them. Do you think these polls are actually misleading, and would the EFF actually try to use these surveys to actually test the waters and find out where you are standing leading up to the elections?
We only rely on Ipsos. We found it to be credible and unbiased. And Ipsos also comes from time to time to brief the EFF leadership per invitation. I think there are financial implications. Yeah, they don't work for us. If you come, ask them to come make a presentation, because in that report, they can't go to town about EFF. So we want them to go to detail. You have to call them, and then they take you through. We're supposed to meet them yesterday. They are not around, so a proper date will be arranged. We believe in scientific research, which is not biased, which is not owned or belong to the EFF and only tells you what you want to hear. And therefore, we find it very challenging and interesting because it zooms your support to a point of a what. And it tells you don't waste money here. If you have money to spend, you spend it here. This is where you are, consolidate this base and so on. So it serves as a guide, of course, as politicians will have to take a final decision on how we spread our wings. Dunga's job is to insource the workers. He now has got a seat on a negotiating table at a very high level. There is a bill in Parliament on insourcing of workers tabled by the EFF, supported by President Ramaphosa. I don't know how far the discussions are with the ANC, but we're not far apart. Unless there are developments I do not know about. So we're fine. That's the first thing. He needs to stabilize the finances of the province and get a clean audit and never steal a cent from the government of Gauteng. He must make sure that all the departments, because Dunga in the main is a distributor. He gets the money distributed to the department and make sure they are properly spent. And if they're not properly spent, he must use the law to intervene. And that law, if it empowers him, not even the premier can stop him from intervening, because laws are very clear on how the MEC of Finance should monitor the expenditure of the resources of the province. He must make sure that those departments spend money, not fruitless expenditure, but spend that will go to have an impact directly in the lives of our people. So we hope that they'll come to the party. They'll work well with the premier because they engage. There's no any arrogance coming from anywhere. The problem there at Ikuruleni was the arrogance of the mayor. Not only to Dunga, to the ANC. You will agree with the ANC at this level, and the guy will just disregard them. We saw the arrogance of that municipality yesterday at the grave of Krisani. If they can do that to the dead, who are we? Treat Krisani's family like that. At the center of Mam Dimpo's complaint is the arrogance of the municipality. And we know the arrogance of the municipality is the arrogance of the mayor. They are not going to tell us what to do. You want to do as if the family is not there. You want to disrespect them. For the first time, that commemoration gets to be postponed under his leadership. His arrogance is up to here. Yeah. I don't know why they still tolerate him. He should have been fired long time ago because it's not only costing them relationships with the EFF, it's now causing internal conflicts that are coming out in public because of his arrogance. So if it was the ANC that we know in the olden past, he would have long been told, or chief, you have to create a space now. It's not only us. You will say Julius is fighting with him. He's got his own secretary resigned. His own secretary resigned. MMC of Finance. Because he said, I can't be part of this wrongdoing. The ANC overruled him, and as a disciplined member of the ANC, he listened. But he couldn't take it anymore. So you will think the EFF is crazy. ANC internally is tired of the guy. What he has on them, I don't know. What was the last one?
Number 5.
Good afternoon, leadership. My name is Refilo Muchwari from Journal News. My first question would go is regarding the new MEC of Finance in Gauteng. What are the strategies that the EFF is going to use to fight especially tender irregularities? And on the issue of, considering the fact that he is entering a system that is already rotten. Secondly, on the issue of insourcing workers, where does this put entrepreneurs who most of the time rely on tenders to employ people? My second question is, can I please get an analysis from you, CIC, on the politics in Mangaung? How confident are you that the EFF, stands a chance to maybe lead the municipality or, being part of the coalition government in Mangaung? Thank you very much.
Number 6.
Good afternoon, Cindy Santlawati from the Gauteng Network. Part of the statement that has just been released by the Democratic Alliance highlights the lack of the former MMC in Dunga, leading to the unqualified audit statements, is that he failed to do the IDPs properly in ensuring that the feedback of the finances are done. And also the late payments also were due to a delay. Lastly, in terms of the negotiations, which put the provincial budget at risk, one thing that has to be asked, was the EFF really that comfortable with preventing the budget from being passed in the province so that even health employees and health services would have been delayed if that had happened?
That was the last one, President.
If Dunga delayed or didn't handle IDPs properly, they were not going to be approved because the budget needed an IDP process before, so that allocations are based on the IDPs. So we've never seen any budget not being passed because IDPs were not handled properly. And the DA it litigates a lot. If you don't do things in a manner they want, they don't hesitate to embarrass you in court. So they should have gone to court if there was something that was done illegally under Dunga. So they've never done it. They're just grandstanding now because there is an imaginary opposition to Dunga. Therefore, opportunistically, let's add our voice. But we don't have anything, so we just say whatever comes. Nonsense late payment, because one of the earlier times, if you know where Dunga started, the first 3 weeks, he called the entrepreneurs in Ekurhuleni, all of them were not paid, put up systems in a hall and said they must move from one place to the other and be told where is their invoice stuck and why. We've never seen any MEC being prepared MMC being prepared to take the staff and the service providers at the time under one roof, all of them, and say, we need to resolve the invoice of these people without undermining the law. If there was more information needed, people would be referred back and all of that. And people were being paid under Dunga. And that's what we expect, amongst other things in the province, that the service providers, especially those who provide essential services, must be paid on time. How do you not pay a feeding scheme? How do you not pay scholar transport? What do you expect those children to do? There are certain issues that are non-negotiable. We have to make sure whatever happens, these issues are attended to. Entrepreneur does not mean tenderpreneur. You have to be innovative. You have to bring, so when you call yourself an entrepreneur, you should be disruptive in nature. If things are done this way, you must start doing them differently. You must revolutionize the business industry, especially the sector you're involved in. So there's nothing entrepreneur in exploiting workers and security guards. With insourcing, everyone that we actually can do this function without any person in between. As an entrepreneur, you'll have to come up with new ideas and new innovation in a different space and continue to thrive. Those who are crying is tenderpreneurs who know that they survive through tenders. Majority of them can't even write. They can't read. They don't know how to fill up a tender document. They rely on someone to fill up tender documents for them. They're engaged in shenanigans, in criminality, collectively. Even when a tender document is inside, they take it out and take out the documents which are missing, or they must be removed and put this one. And so that's not entrepreneurship, that's corruption. So we need business people who are full of ideas, and let government support those ideas. You see, if you come up with a proposal here and say high-rise buildings, this thing of getting human beings to go and climb behind high-rise buildings to clean windows up there is outdated, it's uncalled for. Let's get drones that know how to clean windows, and they can go as high as possible. So why are you not, as entrepreneurs, coming with such alternative? That no, we can hear you are insourcing, but it's risky for workers to go up there. We've got drones to go and clean up there where they can't reach. No one is saying that. We just want to get a tender of cleaners and still continue to risk their lives. We're not insourcing everything, but anything that is not of strategic use to take it to the private sector that we can do as a government, we're going to insource. And why should there be a tender of toilet papers in a country full of unemployment? Why can't you? Because you look at what do you use, which is not so complicated as government. You establish a factory of government, and then you get people to do those things, working for government, produce for government, as workers of government. You need toilet papers, you need cleaning material, you need this. What is it that you need which uses a lot of money from the government? Get the people to produce them internally. By so doing, create jobs for our people directly as government. Really, we must be ashamed. But when it comes to building Gautrain or anything engineering of that sort, of course, we need expertise of other people. Alone, we might not have the necessary capacity. But where a capacity can be generated from within, let's use internal capacity. Let's strengthen this internal capacity of the state and use the facilities of the state. We're not going to pass a budget, say, we're health workers or what. That will never be used to blackmail us. We're not going to pass it. Whether the implications, we're ready to stay with those implications. The workers have not chosen EFF as their government. The workers will not, when they are not paid a salary, they must blame those that they chose to be a government. It's not the EFF that failed to pass a budget. It would have been those they chose in government. See, now when a budget fails to pass now, the EFF failed to pass the budget. We're still going to lobby the MK because we want to be in a much more safer space, much better, so that even those small ones, the day they have a headache and they are unable to come to work, were not affected. So we are going to bring along MK because we're working with MK in KZN to remove that government. So when they vote for a budget now, they are no longer voting for the ANC budget. They are voting for EFF budget. Why? When they vote against it, what do they say? We must also vote against them in KZN. When they abstain from this budget, what are they saying? They're saying we must abstain from KZN? Is that what they're saying? So we are putting this province, when we, at least, we require Nombalula's permission to do so. We say to MK, let's put a stable government here. You might not participate, that's fine. We are participating. We're going to put another stable government in KZN, and we're going to help you to realize that. And when we want to pass budget, we will be there to pass that budget with you. But that relationship doesn't have to start with MK first before it happens. We showed them good faith. When they passed a motion of no confidence with our 2 members, we were at the center of trying to make sure that we remove that premium. We never doubted when we took up a decision. So be rest assured, we're going to put up a stable government with the Premier who's sober and the MEC of Finance who's sober. Be rest assured, the irritations will be there as political parties from time to time, but with no intention, none whatsoever, to disrupt this government. That's why every little opportunity we get with MK, we mobilize them to come. When they say, no, we can't vote for this, ANC is voting against us in KZN, we say, at least vote for us because we vote for you in KZN. Dynamics might not be the same, we agree, but let's give and take. We are in a situation where we have to meet each other halfway. Mangaung, there will never be an outright winner of any municipality, any metro. No one. So how we are all going to deploy is going to be very important, because the people who are going there, they must understand that they must subject themselves to political management committee, which is going to manage the relations between individuals who are leading on behalf of parties in those municipalities. No outright winner in all the metros, except in Cape Town. But even there, we're going to put up a fight. Yeah, there's no. So once we successfully make sure there's no outright winner in all the metros, you are guaranteed in 2009, 2029, no one is guaranteed. Without metros, no one can govern this country. It's guaranteed. So you choose wisely now for the future. It's important that the ANC knows that not in the foreseeable future will they ever win elections. Never, ever win elections outrightly. They are going to win elections, working together with EFF and MK, reclaiming this country back to the rightful owners. So that's the only solution. The only solution to this country is MK, EFF, ANC. That is the future of South Africa. Unless you choose those things of DA and the Freedom Front and what, I'm not part of that. Political convenience, I will never agree to that. There's nothing DA is going to do to put us where we are. The DA works with AfriForum. AfriForum that went to discredit our country in America has got no respect for this country. That's why AfriForum is able to tell the DA, this leader of the DA is going to make you lose votes. This one. More than anyone, John's gate was opened by AfriForum. John Vuli Gate. Instead of John opening it, AfriForum opened it. Hambakaya. So there's nothing we can do about it. We will never be part of that. We will never be part of any white capital. We are not part of any brief by white people. And we don't receive any funding from white people. So we survive with the little we get from the government. And we negotiate the best prices ever. And that's how we move forward as the EFF. Lastly, there will be slight changes here in Joburg, where the provincial secretary will become the MMC of safety and security, and the MMC will go to the legislature because he's a head of elections. We can't confine him to a municipality. For instance, yesterday, he was at East London doing the election work, and a wall fell here, and the MMC was nowhere to be found. So as a head of elections, he can't be head of elections being in a local municipality. He has to be all over South Africa. Those are the EFF decisions which will be communicated to the ANC and the mayor of the ANC. Don't look shocked. Those are politics. Enjoy. Bye.
Sure.
Thank you very much. First floor.